Clarity in vision and goals is the single most important driver of rapid business growth. If you don't know where you're going, you can't expect your team to get there, let alone move quickly. So many businesses stay stagnant because the leadership isn't clear on the destination. And even if they are, they haven't communicated it in a way that empowers the team to act with confidence. Clarity isn't about long mission statements or fluffy values on a wall. It's about direction, alignment, and execution. It's about every person in the company knowing exactly what the goal is and how their work contributes to it. When a team lacks clarity, what you get is confusion, rework, and missed opportunities. When a team is clear, you get speed, ownership, and results. Let's get real. You can't afford to grow slowly in today's world. Markets are shifting fast, competitors are moving fast, technology is evolving fast. You need your people operating with urgency, and that urgency can only be created when everyone knows what matters and what doesn't. That's what clarity gives you. It tells the team, here's the target, this is what winning looks like, these are the numbers we're aiming for, this is the time frame, and here's how we get there. When people know the plan, they don't waste time. They don't sit around wondering if they're working on the right thing. They go all in because the path is lit up in front of them. But here's where most business leaders get it wrong. They assume clarity is a one-time announcement. It's not. Clarity is not a kickoff meeting. It's not a Monday email. It's not a once-a-year town hall. Clarity is a discipline. It's something you reinforce constantly. You talk about the goal daily. You ask your team how their work connects to it. You challenge them when they drift. You bring everything back to the vision and the metrics that matter. And if you're not doing that, don't be surprised when your team starts inventing their own priorities or loses momentum. It's not their fault, it's yours. Clarity and vision also means saying no loudly and often. When you're growing rapidly, opportunities will come flying at you. People will pitch you new ideas, partnerships, product lines, and side projects. And without clarity, you'll be tempted to chase them all. But growth isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things faster and better than anyone else. Your vision gives you the filter. It tells you this fits, this doesn't. It lets you move with confidence instead of hesitation. If you're saying yes to everything, you're not clear enough. And clarity isn't just about leadership. It's about everyone in your business. If you walk into a department and ask 5 people what the company's top goal is, and you get 5 different answers, that's a problem. That's not a communication issue, that's a leadership issue. Your people should be able to articulate the mission in their own words. They should know the key metrics and why they matter. They should know what they're responsible for and how success is measured. That's the level of clarity it takes to grow fast. Anything less than that creates drag. Now let's talk about speed. Everyone wants to move fast, but few people realize that speed is a byproduct of clarity. Think about a sports team. The best teams don't win because they run faster. They win because everyone knows the play. They know where to be. They know their assignment. Business is the same. If you want to execute fast, if you want to pivot quickly, if you want to stay ahead of the competition, your people need to be in sync. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because you as the leader are obsessively clear about the vision, about the goals, about the expectations, and about the standards. Clarity is a growth multiplier. It's not sexy, it's not flashy, but it is powerful. When you have it, you create alignment, you build trust, you remove friction, you make decisions faster, you onboard faster, you deliver results faster. And if you're serious about scaling, you need to stop assuming people understand and start ensuring they do. You need to be crystal clear, then reinforce it again, because clarity isn't given once. It's given every single day. Hiring the right people fast is not just a recruitment strategy, it's a growth strategy. If you're trying to scale your business rapidly, the biggest limiter is not the market, not your product, not even your cash flow. It's your people. You cannot grow faster than the capacity of your team, and if you're moving fast, you don't have the luxury of hiring slowly, but you also can't afford to hire the wrong people. That's where most companies mess up. They either wait too long and miss the moment, or they rush and fill roles with warm bodies who aren't equipped to handle the pace or aligned with the mission. You have to do both, hire fast and hire right. That's the real skill. The number one reason fast growing companies stall out is because they didn't build the right hiring systems early enough. They start getting traction, sales go up, demand increases, and suddenly they are underwater. The founder's overwhelmed, the team's maxed out, and now it's a mad scramble to find help. That's panic hiring, and panic hiring almost always leads to poor fits. People who slow things down, create drama, or just can't keep up. If you're serious about scaling, you need to treat hiring like sales, consistent, intentional, and metric driven. You need to have a pipeline of talent ready before you need them, because by the time you need a new hire, it's already too late. You also need to get real about what kind of people your business needs at this stage. Not everyone thrives in a high growth environment. Some people want stability. They want a clearly defined job, minimal change, and predictable work. And that's fine, but they won't thrive in your company if you're moving fast. You need people who are adaptable, who can handle pressure, who are obsessed with outcomes, people who want to build, not maintain, who don't just wait for direction, but take ownership. That's a very specific profile, and you need to know how to spot it, because the wrong hire doesn't just fail to help you, they actively slow down your momentum. Hiring fast means your process can't be built around gut feelings. It has to be structured. You need to define exactly what you're looking for before you ever post a job. What skills are non-negotiable? What kind of experience matters at this stage? What values must they align with? And most importantly, what results are they expected to deliver in the first 30, 60, 90 days? Too many companies hire based on resumes and personality instead of performance and alignment. You don't need someone who looks good on paper. You need someone who can produce, so structure your interviews around performance, ask about results, give assignments, make them show you what they can do. That's how you hire for impact, and once you find the right person, you move fast. Great people aren't sitting around waiting for your offer. They're in demand. If your hiring process drags on, you will lose them. That's why you need to streamline everything: your screening, your interviews, your decision making. Know who has the authority to make the call. Cut the unnecessary steps. Be decisive. The best leaders don't second guess hiring decisions once the data and alignment check out. They commit, and then they onboard with clarity. Speaking of onboarding, that's the other half of this. Hiring fast means onboarding fast too. It's not enough to just bring someone in. You need to integrate them quickly. That means clear training, clear expectations, and a fast ramp-up plan. Your new hires should know by the end of their first week what success looks like, who they report to, and what they are being held accountable for. You can't afford a 6-month learning curve. You want them producing value fast. That only happens if you've built a system that sets them up to win right out of the gate. The truth is, your team is your engine. And if your engine isn't built for speed, your business won't move, no matter how good your ideas are. So you have to be relentless about getting the right people in the right seats at the right time. You have to be willing to upgrade roles when necessary. You have to be honest about performance and culture fit. And most importantly, you have to make hiring a leadership priority, not an HR function, not a side project, but a daily responsibility of anyone leading a team. Rapid business growth isn't a mystery. It's a byproduct of high-performance people executing at speed. You don't get that by chance. You get that by building a team with intention, urgency, and standards. So if you're serious about scaling, start treating hiring like the growth lever it is, because the right hire doesn't just fill a role, they multiply momentum. Relentless focus on execution is what separates businesses that talk about growth from those that actually achieve it. Everyone loves to strategize, everyone loves to brainstorm and ideate and whiteboard their next big move, but none of that matters if you can't execute. Growth doesn't come from good ideas, it comes from consistent action, done with urgency, precision, and discipline. When your team is laser focused on execution, everything accelerates, but the moment you start slipping into planning mode without results, your momentum dies. Execution is the muscle that makes strategy real. Without it, you're just busy being busy. Most companies don't have an execution problem because they're lazy. They have an execution problem because they aren't clear on what matters most. They're running in 10 different directions. They're chasing metrics that don't drive revenue. They're stuck in meetings instead of doing the work, and then they wonder why growth is flat. Focus means saying no constantly. You have to get ruthless about prioritization. What are the one or two things that move the needle this week, this month, this quarter? Everything else is noise, and as the leader, it's your job to cut through that noise and point the team toward results. Execution requires accountability. That's where most leaders struggle. They set goals, but they don't follow up. They delegate tasks, but don't inspect the outcome. They assume people are doing the work, but don't verify. And that's a recipe for disappointment. You don't get what you expect. You get what you inspect. When you're growing rapidly, you can't afford to wait 90 days to realize something fell through the cracks. You need weekly scorecards, daily check-ins, real-time visibility into what's getting done and what isn't. Accountability isn't about micromanaging. It's about making sure everyone is aligned, focused, and moving forward together. There's also a huge difference between activity and progress. Just because your team is working hard doesn't mean you're moving the business forward. Are they doing the right work? Are they hitting targets? Are they solving real problems or just staying busy? That's what execution demands, clarity on outcomes, not just output. Your people need to know what winning looks like, not we're working on the project, but we launched the campaign, generated leads, and hit our revenue target. Execution turns abstract goals into measurable results. Speed matters too. Rapid business growth means moving fast without sacrificing quality. That requires a culture where decisions don't get stuck in approval loops. Where people feel empowered to act, where perfectionism doesn't paralyze progress, you need to be okay with version 1.0. Ship it, test it, iterate. Too many companies get caught in endless planning cycles because they're afraid to be wrong. But speed is a competitive advantage. The faster you move, the faster you learn, and the faster you learn, the faster you grow. Execution is about momentum, and momentum comes from taking action over and over again. It's also important to understand that execution is a leadership issue. If your team isn't executing, it's not because they're incapable, it's because they're not being led effectively. Are you setting clear priorities? Are you removing roadblocks? Are you following up on commitments? Are you rewarding performance and addressing underperformance? Execution flows from the top down. If you're scattered, your team will be too. If you're focused, they'll mirror that. Your consistency sets the standard. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make is trying to do everything themselves because they don't trust their team to execute. That's a bottleneck. You need to delegate outcomes, not just tasks. That means trusting your leaders to own results, not just check boxes. But for that to happen, they need clarity, resources, and accountability. And they need to be held to the same standard of execution that you hold yourself to. If someone is consistently not delivering, that's not a coaching opportunity, it's a replacement opportunity, because rapid growth doesn't wait for people to catch up. It rewards those who can keep up. Finally, execution creates culture. When your company becomes known for getting things done, fast, well, and repeatedly, it attracts top talent. It energizes the team. It creates pride and momentum. People want to be part of a winning environment, but that culture doesn't happen by accident. It's built through consistent action, day after day, week after week. You build it by refusing to let things slide, by celebrating results, and by holding the line when standards drop. Relentless focus on execution is not about being busy, it's about being effective. It's about building a team that gets things done. And if you want rapid growth, you need to make execution your obsession. Because ideas don't scale businesses, execution does. Scalable systems and processes are the backbone of sustainable rapid growth. You can have the best team, the most innovative product, and a powerful vision, but without systems that can handle scale, everything will eventually break. Growth has a way of exposing every weak point in your business. What worked when you had 5 people won't work when you have 50. What worked when you were handling 10 clients won't hold up when you're juggling 100. That's why building scalable systems isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You have to build your business like you expect it to grow, because if you wait until the growth happens, it'll be too late. A system is simply a repeatable way of getting things done. It takes tasks that used to rely on memory, talent, or chance and turns them into reliable processes that anyone can follow. This is what gives your business the ability to operate without constant hand-holding from leadership. It's what lets you delegate effectively. It's what creates consistency in the customer experience. Without systems, you're operating on chaos, and chaos does not scale. You may be able to hustle your way through the early stages, but eventually the cracks will show, and when they do, they'll cost you time, money, customers, and credibility. Processes don't slow you down, they speed you up. That's a mindset shift every focused leader needs to make. The goal isn't to create bureaucracy. The goal is to eliminate decision fatigue, to remove ambiguity, to allow new team members to plug into a framework that sets them up for success from day one. Think about onboarding. If your onboarding process is shadow someone and figure it out, you're already bottlenecking your growth. But if you've documented step-by-step workflows, checklists, and training modules, you can bring new people in at scale and have them producing quickly. That's the power of systems. Every time you or your team solves a problem, that solution should become a documented process. If you do something more than once, it needs a system. If you answer the same question repeatedly, it needs a standard. This is how you remove yourself from the weeds and start working on the business instead of constantly in it. Leaders who scale know how to create playbooks, not just fix problems. They train their teams to think in systems. They encourage documentation, repeatability, and optimization, because they know the fastest way to grow is to stop reinventing the wheel every time. Scalable systems also create transparency. When everyone's working from the same playbook, it's easier to measure performance. You can identify what's working and what isn't. You can track progress, catch issues early, and hold people accountable. This is especially important as your team grows. You can't manage growth through memory or personality. You need data, you need dashboards, you need process owners. Systems give you the visibility and control to lead at scale. Now, let's talk about automation. As your business grows, you want your systems to do the heavy lifting. That means leveraging tools, software, and integrations that remove manual work and increase speed. But don't automate chaos. Automate after you've cleaned up the process. Document it, test it, improve it, then automate it. This allows your team to spend time on high-value activities instead of repetitive admin tasks. It increases your margins, reduces human error, and gives you back time you can reinvest into strategic growth. Here's the thing, building systems isn't glamorous. It's not the part of business most people get excited about, but it's the difference between scaling a business and babysitting one. You can't scale based on talent alone. People will make mistakes, they'll forget steps, they'll leave the company. If your business is entirely dependent on individual heroics, it's fragile. Systems create strength. They create a business that can survive without you. That can train new hires quickly, that can expand into new markets or launch new products without everything falling apart. Scalability is also about future-proofing. The systems you build today need to be flexible enough to grow with you. That means constantly reviewing, updating, and improving them. You don't set it and forget it. You optimize, you refine, you listen to feedback from the people using the systems daily, and you stay open to change. Because what gets you to one level of growth won't get you to the next. Scalability requires evolution. At the end of the day, if your business isn't systemized, your growth will be short-lived. You'll burn out your team, frustrate your customers, and miss out on opportunities. But if you commit to building strong, scalable processes, ones that drive clarity, consistency, and efficiency, you'll unlock a level of growth that's not just fast, but sustainable. The companies that win long term are not the ones with the flashiest ideas. They're the ones with systems that execute those ideas at scale again and again without breaking. That's what scalability looks like. Leadership development at every level is not just a nice to have in a rapidly growing business, it's essential. If your company is expanding but your people aren't growing with it, you will hit a wall. You cannot scale an organization faster than the capability of the people inside it. Leadership is not limited to the C-suite. It needs to be cultivated in every department, at every tier, and inside every person who touches the business. Because growth requires decisions, it requires ownership, it requires accountability, and none of those things can happen consistently unless you are intentionally developing leaders throughout your organization. The biggest trap fast-growing companies fall into is assuming leadership is a title. Just because someone has manager or director next to their name doesn't mean they know how to lead. Leadership is not about authority. It's about influence. It's about setting direction, driving execution, and elevating the people around you. And in a high growth environment, that kind of leadership needs to exist in every corner of your business, not just at the top. When you build a company where leadership is distributed, you move faster, you solve problems at the source, you create momentum that doesn't rely on one or two high performers carrying the load. But leadership development doesn't happen by accident. You don't just hope people grow into it. You design for it, you teach it, you coach it, you hold people to the standard of it, you talk about it all the time. That means having a clear definition of what leadership looks like in your company. What are the expectations? What are the behaviors? What gets rewarded? What gets corrected? Because if you're not defining it, your culture will do it for you, and usually not in a way that supports growth. High-growth businesses need leaders who can handle pressure, who can think strategically, and who can execute with urgency. They need people who can rally a team, solve problems without escalating them, and drive results without being told what to do. That's not something most people are born with. It's something you develop through experience, feedback, and challenge. So if you're not building that pipeline internally, you're constantly going to be stuck hiring externally, and that's expensive, risky, and slow. One of the best things you can do as a leader is to identify people on your team who have leadership potential and start developing them before you need them. Don't wait until there's a vacancy to start training. Create shadowing opportunities, assign stretch projects, let them lead a meeting, give them visibility into decision making, offer real-time coaching. The goal is to grow leaders who are ready to step up when the business demands it, not after. And you don't need a massive training program to make this happen. What you need is intentionality and consistency. Leadership development also creates alignment. When people at every level understand how to lead themselves and others, communication gets cleaner. Conflicts get resolved faster, initiatives get implemented more effectively, you stop seeing silos and start seeing collaboration. Everyone starts rowing in the same direction because the culture of leadership is embedded throughout the business. You don't need to micromanage because your people are already holding themselves and each other to high standards. Another critical piece of this is feedback. You cannot develop leaders in a feedback-free environment. People need to know how they're doing, what they're doing well, what they need to improve, and how they're tracking against expectations. That means creating a culture where feedback is not only accepted but expected, where tough conversations aren't avoided, where growth is more important than comfort, and as the leader, you have to model that. You have to be coachable, you have to ask for feedback, you have to give it often and directly. It's also worth saying that leadership development is not just about career advancement. It's about business acceleration. When someone in customer support knows how to lead themselves, they don't wait for instructions. They see a problem and fix it. When someone in operations is thinking like a leader, they don't just complete tasks, they look for ways to improve the system. That kind of thinking is what makes companies unstoppable. Because leadership at every level multiplies capacity, reduces bottlenecks, and increases the overall horsepower of the organization. Ultimately, your ability to grow a business is tied directly to your ability to grow people. If you're not actively developing leaders, you're setting yourself up to become the ceiling of your own company. But when you invest in leadership at every level, you build a team that can think, act, and perform like owners. That's when things start to move without you pushing every button. That's when your growth becomes scalable and sustainable. Leadership isn't a department, it's a mindset, and when it exists in everyone, growth becomes inevitable.